had these shipped to me yesterday from Nestle. All right, so this is what I have, you all, in my hands right now. I am sure that a lot of you have seen it on social media already. I've already, seen a ton of posts on it for the new Nestle's vegan Kit Kat. The official launch date was like 2 days ago out on the UK markets. It was supposed to be in a particular grocery store called Sainsbury, and I was there opening day, but I couldn't. There was like it wasn't sold out, but it was just not all distributed yet, so it wasn't in stores, and so I had it actually sent to me from Nestle themselves. So thank you so much, Nestle, for sending these guys to me. Yeah, like I don't think I've had Kit Kat in years. And very recently, like I saw this, there's this like show here called Snack Masters where they were remaking, or like how would you make Kit Kat at home, or like actually like in a restaurant or something. And I think probably like the hardest bit to making a Kit Kat is to make that wafer, because it's like very difficult to make it that light. But if you guys watch the show, you'll know that in order to make a Kit Kat, you actually need Kit Kat scraps. Like all of the leftover scraps are like ground up into this like little crunchy paste, and then that's put back into Kit Kat, which is actually super cool. Never really knew about it. So where are these available? So the new vegan Kit Kat, it's called the Kit Kat V. Launched this year in several different countries across the globe. They're testing out in the different markets. So I'm not totally sure who has them yet. I think I read that like Berlin or Germany might start having them soon. But it makes sense that Kit Kat is launching. Kit Kat V is launching early in England because apparently Kit Kat was originally developed in a factory in York, England, so up north. And so Kit Kat V was also developed by chocolate experts in the Nestle factory team in York as well. So that's quite interesting. The company, I mean, obviously Nestle owns like 2,000 different companies across the globe. They are huge, like everything from like pharmaceuticals, you have like Haagen-Dazs, you have ice cream, you have pet care with like Purina, like they own everything. Kit Kat V is certified vegan and made from 100% sustainable cocoa sourced through the Nestle cocoa plan. So we are going to be talking more about that later on. So I think what I'm going to do here is going to be a pretty easy taste test. I think I'll just tell you guys like a little bit about just comparing the bar to the original bar. We're going to taste it. Comparing it to the original Kit Kat bar, it's pretty much the same thing. The original Kit Kat bar had 218 calories per bar. This one has 214. Sugar, this one has a little bit less, 14.2 grams. So I'm just looking through the ingredients here. Obviously, like I'm not eating Kit Kat for health purposes, but we're just looking through the ingredients. Sugar, cocoa butter, you have wheat, corn fiber, rice syrup. A thing that stands out is vegetable fats, palm kernel and palm. Usually, like nowadays, there's always like a little star next to palm, and people will be like, oh, it's like sustainable palm oil, whatever. But this doesn't seem to be the case here. And I know some people are probably thinking that I'm being a bit nitpicky here, but since this product is marketed to a vegan audience, like there's a ton of reasons that vegans choose a certain product, and one of them is going to be, the environment. So, just some feedback there. Again, here, Kit Kat supports improving the lives of cocoa farmers, blah, blah, blah. So we'll talk about the cocoa plan a little bit afterwards as well. Right here, I've taken it out of the the lovely wrapper. Everything seems very Kit Kat-y. Yeah, it's very nice. It's nice and shiny. I think that the chocolate was well tempered. See if you can hear it. Has that signature Kit Kat crunch. Okay. Yeah. Everything smells, it smells like milk chocolate. It doesn't smell like dark chocolate. So it's very like mellow. It does have a very mellow chocolate flavor. Like it's very milk chocolatey and it's very sweet. I think it's because vegans are very much like, if we're gonna eat chocolate, we always have to eat dark chocolate. So it changes our taste buds a lot. But it is a very like mellow chocolate, and it's quite sweet as well. But has a good mouthfeel, has a nice crunch. I think it is what I remember from a Kit Kat, and so I think if people are looking to, like switch over to plant-based for plant-based Kit Kats for, I guess, a variety of reasons, they'll be really happy with the results. So let's talk about chocolate, because I feel like I can't do a review on a chocolate candy bar without talking about these aspects with you guys. Basically, with the cocoa industry, a majority of the cocoa that people eat in the world comes from Western Africa. So places like the Ivory Coast, places like Ghana, places that have a lot of super poor farmers that big cocoa companies can really take advantage of, because they are looking to maximize their profit. So you have these farmers that are really put under a lot of pressure to keep their cocoa prices super low. A lot of them have to end up using their kids. Maybe their kids can't go to school because you have to help out the family. You have to, they don't earn enough to make a living. So like, that is what they do. In addition, it is also what drives a lot of kids, knowing that their parents don't have a lot of money, hear of a job on a cocoa plantation that, that pays, they'll go into it. And then that leads, there's a lot of cases of child trafficking also in the cocoa business. And what happens is, these traffickers, they lie about, oh, there's this job on this farm that pays a lot, and then the kids come along, they are taken, to another country, there's new language, new land, they don't know where they are, and suddenly they're like on this cocoa plantation for years. And I wanted to look this up for you guys because there was a court case that recently came out against the big chocolate producers of the world. So Nestle, Mars, Hershey, Barry Callebaut. And there were 8 men who said that when they were young, they were essentially trafficked from Mali to these cocoa plantations. And when they worked, they never got paid. They were beaten. They were segregated from other children workers as well in shackles. So they were kept chained. Had to spray pesticides and herbicides without any protective clothing. Constantly bitten by insects, by bugs. They have to work with machetes, they have to work with chainsaws, and these are, like 11-year-olds, sometimes even younger. What happens is these companies that use this kind of labor will approach big companies like a Nestle or like a Hershey, and they'll say like, we can supply cocoa at a lower price than what you guys have using, adult workers. And pretty much these big cocoa companies will look the other way and say yes to it, even though they'll tell you out loud in public, oh, like we totally condemn slave labor, we totally condemn child labor. I'll include some links for you guys if you're interested in reading a little bit more into it. But in part of the Food Empowerment Project, they had interviewed one of the men who's now a man, but had worked in some of these cocoa plantations as a slave. They were saying, when asked what he would tell people who eat chocolate made from slave labor, which if there's not minimally like a fair trade label on it, chances are you're having slave chocolate. He replied that they enjoyed something that he suffered to make, adding, when people eat chocolate, they are eating my flesh. So there's a fair amount of chocolate companies now that on the forefront will say that they are slavery-free chocolate. And a lot of the times it's really hard to verify, but there's a couple of like pretty cool companies that are really tracing their beans. They are taking responsibility from farm, where they own all of the farms. They can look after the conditions all the way to the factory, and then all the way to the grocery store, so that it's at least a little bit more accountable when issues do come up, like if they do find that there was child slavery or that people weren't being paid, that they can, look into it. It will even guarantee farmers for the next 5 years what the price of cocoa is going to be, so that they can make the necessary adjustments, so that they know how much income is coming in and what is going to be, sustainable. Okay, so let's go into the Nestle Cocoa Plan, because it was created in 2009, and they essentially, I guess, like address and improve the profitability and the sustainability of cocoa farms by helping farmers make better use of their land and improve social conditions. It's a 3-minute read. There's only 3 points. One is better farming. Basically, Nestle is going to provide farmers with better trees, more productive trees, as their aging crops, grow older, so that there is more productivity. And I guess that makes sense, because if you have better producing trees, you're gonna have more cocoa, you're gonna be able to sell more cocoa. Like, yeah, that's great. This is a good thing, but I could also see, like, I know I was reading in 2017, cocoa farming in West Africa had like one of their best seasons ever. They were super, super productive. Like, there was more in the market than the market really needed. And what happened was that it wasn't this effect. It wasn't like, oh, like farmers make more cocoa and so they can sell it and get more money. What ended up happening was there was too much cocoa. And of course, who that helps is essentially big cocoa companies, because now it's going to drive down the prices. They are going to make a lot more money because they don't have to pay as much for chocolate. And then the farmers really ended up suffering, because there was no set price. Like, everything, and they're still working on the farms, but they can't really pay for their family, they can't really pay for their living, and a lot of them fall into, like the hands of like loan sharks, and so they're constantly needing to borrow money, and they're not able to pay it back, and so bad cycle happens from that. Point number 2 here is better lives. So Nestle says we know that a child's place is in the classroom learning, and so they're working with essentially, to date, they have built 42 schools to support the Nestle Cocoa Plan, and they are concentrating from 2016 on those schools in areas that have the highest incidences of child labor. And I know I read like an article, it was something from like Forbes, which really shouldn't care about this at all, but in like 2013, which is a couple of years after this, where they're like, the reason that there is child labor, the reason that kids go into this, the reason that parents have to send their kids into this is not because there's not enough schools, right? Like, you could solve this problem by paying farmers a living wage. Like, you pay them enough, then they will have the security, and they'll say like, yeah, like, I can actually feed my family. I don't have to, send my kids into the farm. I don't have to sell my kids. Like, just, it's good that there are more schools. Like, it's great. And that's what big companies like count on, is like, oh, it like sounds good. Like ExxonMobil, cleaned up a bit like a beach. The reason, obviously, that kids are being sold or being put into child slavery, child labor, is not because of the lack of schools. So, that's something. Point number 3 is better cocoa. So we know the better quality beans makes better tasting chocolate and more profit for farmers. Okay. We pledged to source 150,000 tons of sustainably produced cocoa by 2017. I think like people of our time, like, we're so sick of like watching these documentaries where we're like, okay, like these certifying organizations actually, like, we're not really sure how or if they certify really at all, and so you can't really tell. But I mean, not to really go at it with Nestle. There's a couple of companies that are looking into this as well, but like, yeah, like they want to have on their label that, oh, this is like 100% certified sustainable cocoa. But what does that mean? Like, what does sustainable cocoa mean? Are these definitions that are made by the big companies? Are the institutions that are doing the certification, are they like owned by Nestle? Are they owned by Hershey's? Or is there like a lot of money that's supplied to these companies by these people so that they can be certified? Like, you know, like it's kind of like you have this big institution that you own everything of, and then you kind of like make up the law abiding parties that will tell you like, yes, you're, you know, abiding by the law or whatnot. So it's like better than nothing, but like I had mentioned earlier, I really think Nestle is one of those corporations, like it is a giant corporation. It makes billions of dollars in profit every year. They absolutely have the power to track and trace their beans. They absolutely have the power to have their own farm where they can just know where, like are you a child, are we not paying you, like you absolutely can know that, and then have it go up the chain to the customer. Sure, like maybe we have to pay a little bit more for chocolate. It's not something that, you know, we should be eating all the time anyways, but I do feel like they make so much money on it that, like, you know, I don't think on that kind of a scale, I don't necessarily think it's going to be like, whoa, like chocolate's going to become crazy expensive just because we start paying people better and a living wage. And if that's the case, sure, pay them a living wage. I will have chocolate once in a while. But, you know, for me to think that like every time I have a Kit Kat that like somebody is suffering and that a child is being trafficked into another country and that, you know, people are being exploited, that's crazy. I don't want that. Yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed that review. Sorry for getting a little serious on you guys, but I think it was something that's worth knowing. And yeah, see you guys again next time. Okay, bye.